Hey bestie, and welcome back to another episode of the Plopcast. We are coming in hot this week, so I hope you're not eating. This is gonna get grimy and gross. The amount of plop stuff that I have seen over the last 2 weeks, and it has been submitted to me. We got some submissions from Spirit Halloween employees. Oh my gosh, are y'all okay over there? I used to want to, I for years wanted to do Spirit Halloween as a side hustle, because I usually take seasonal jobs on top of my regular job, and then it never worked out because they needed people during the day, and I have a full-time career, and there's Lord, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't think the discount's going to be worth it. I thought GameStop was bad, but apparently Spirit's getting it 10 times harder. Before we get started, just a quick reminder that this podcast is 18 plus, not for little ears. Also, I know a lot of you guys say that you listen while you're on your way to work or on your way home from work. Please don't be eating right now because it's going to get bad. I'm just going to go ahead and give a warning for the whole podcast. Usually I say, just certain parts, but it's going to happen so much that I just can't just don't eat. Just don't eat if you have a weak stomach, or maybe take this as a challenge. If you're in the medical field or something, you want to take a challenge, see if you can eat through it, go ahead. Be nice practice for you. Also, once again, I apologize for missing those 2 weeks of episodes. I had events back to back, and then I had that interview, and I also apologize for that interview being a mess. That person she had reached out to me on social media. We had planned it. We didn't do a lot of planning, but we planned for her to come on. Like I said, I want to give everyday people an opportunity to come on and tell their stories. And I scheduled it. Then I ended up having surgery the day before. I was out of it. I was just trying to get through it. There was not a lot of planning, and I was just trying to keep the conversation going, giving her that opportunity, and my brain was just not there. There's stuff coming out of left corner and left field, whatever you want to call it. And my brain was just not there. First of all, I just have a quick question. What the fuck is in the air that is making these plobs just go 10 times crazier lately? Because every follower submission I got, every single one of them, was just worse and worse with each and every one. I'm like, what the fuck? Are you Spirit Halloween? Are the Halloween store workers okay? Also, if you've seen the animatronic video, I just want to give a heads up. If you've seen the video of the guy who's like, I work at Spirit Halloween, and people are fucking the animatronics, and then we have to clean the cum off and resell it. That's fake. It's satire. His whole page is satire. I'm not sure how people kept falling for it, because he does make it very if you've ever worked retail, you know that's not how it works. They don't make you clean nothing. They throw it out. If something's returned it's damaged, they throw it out. That's just policy. That's the law. So I don't know why so many people fell for it. I mean, he didn't even, he even posted it as, comedy, the hashtags and everything. The whole thing is satire. His whole page is satire. If you go to his page, he does that. He does skits. It's his whole, rage bait satire, but he doesn't try to hide it. He doesn't try to come off for genuine. He just makes it in this, weird tone and tries to make satire funny videos. But for some reason, the animatronic thing blew up, and everybody was like, oh my gosh, the animatronics, Spirit Halloween employees are having to clean come off of animatronics and reselling it, and we're buying animatronics that have been jerked off to. No, they throw them out when stuff like that happens. Now, the sad part is there is some nasty stuff that happens. I had someone submit a story time, if you haven't seen it yet, where it's a Spirit Halloween employee who said a couple years ago, someone had bought a Bride of Chucky doll and returned it. And what happened is they come in for the return. They said the head had fallen off. And they could see, the head had fallen off. They just sold it the day before. And they're like, it's your malfunctioning product or whatever. Arguing with the manager. They said they ended up going back and forth with the manager until the manager finally gave them a return. Refunds it, even though I'm pretty sure, the policy is there's no returns now. I'm not sure. It might be, depending on time frame or something. I'm not, whatever. Point is, they argued with the manager, got the return. Afterwards, the employee got curious before he totaled it out, which is where you mark it out as defective. That way the company can know, why they lost this money and stuff. So they go to do that, and the employee was curious and was like, why the heck did the head fall off of this? Is this an issue? Should we be worried that other ones are going to have this issue? So he takes it out of takes it out fully, because they did take it, he said he opened the box. So the manager only opened the box and looked at the head, didn't take the whole thing out. So he takes the whole thing out, and he finds cum on the dress part, under the dress and stuff. The guy had jerked off or fucked it. I don't know if he just jerked off into it or fucked it. I'm guessing he fucked it because the head fell off. I don't know how the fuck that happened. I don't want to know the details. But of course they threw it out and everything. But they're not cleaning these things and re-putting them back up. No. Also, their animatronics. Have you seen their animatronics? I have some of their animatronics. If you guys saw, I did the haunted. I do the haunted yard. I do the trunk or treat too. Last year we did the horror clowns. This year we're doing zombies. But I also have a Tim Burton yard. So I have, my yard's kind of split because I have yard on each side of my driveway. So I have like the horror stuff on one side and then a theme on the other. And my theme is the Tim Burton. So I have like Jack and Sally. I have Emily and Victor. I have some Beetlejuice stuff. And the animatronics are like, it's funny enough, we've had a lot of storms here in Texas lately that keep knocking over Victor and Emily. Like, they look like they're fucking, to be honest. They look like the animatronics are doing each other because Victor keeps falling on top of Emily. And I put bricks, like I put 20-pound bricks on these, and the wind is that bad that it's like knocking them over still. But, if you look, like, her dress flies up and his, like, stuff will come up, and you can see it's just, like, metal and stuff under there. It's not some soft, squishy, it's not like a freaking blow-up doll or something under there. I mean, I get that there's definitely people doing, like, the dolls and stuff, but the actual animatronics don't make any sense. For example, when I posted the story time that follower submitted to me about, the whole doing the dolls, somebody commented about how there was people doing the Megan dolls, like, ugh. And then I had somebody respond to the comment and be like, oh yeah, I worked there. I think their comment got removed and hopefully it got approved too. That's another thing, is please remember to like censor your comments, because TikTok's is on a rampage lately about removing people's comments for dumb shit. But they had commented about how, yeah, they had some guys being inappropriate with Megan dolls when they worked at Spirit. And it's like, what the fuck? Megan's supposed to be designed to be what, like a 10-year-old girl? What the fuck is wrong with some of y'all? Before we get too deep into the Spirit Halloween employee stuff, though, I do want to share my personal experience at an event a couple of weeks ago. So, for those of you who don't know, I went to a small convention in my home state, and oh god. So here's the thing, is in my home state, we don't have a bunch of cons like we do here in Texas and in other states. It started out with just that one, and now there's like a couple of tiny other ones that are, once again, like the smallest conventions that I've ever been to, and I've been to hundreds. And since it's also the middle of nowhere, it's the Appalachians, like there's not a lot to do. I mean, heck, the mall that's beside it. So this is the capital city, keep in mind, capital city of the entire state, and the mall is so dead. They spent like millions getting rid of the fountains and all this stuff. And when you walk through the mall, there's just like boarded, everything's like walled up, and they've put like pictures of like historical stuff on the walls because there's almost no stores left. There's maybe 10% of the stores left that it used to be, and it's a 3-story mall. It almost looks like an abandoned mall. So there's not a lot to do. So what ends up happening, and I've talked about this before, my parents actually owned the first card shop there, Curious Goods, whenever I was a kid, like in the whole place. And now there's like there's like 3 or 4 small ones around town, and then there's like 2 in Parkersburg stuff, right? Well, so the point is there's not a lot of stuff to do. And so what will happen is these incel plobs, that Discord moderator, neckbeard, VR chat lovers that don't ever leave their house throughout the entire rest of the year, come out one weekend a year, and it's Tisabasacon. And it sucks so hard. Now, not the con, the people that do that suck, because you've also got all of these nerds who are sweet, amazing people who just, they don't have time to travel all the way out of state to go somewhere. So this is the one time a year they get to like really nerd out, because there's not a bunch of spaces and stuff like here in Texas. Even if there's not a con going on, there's plenty of nerd spaces. There's plenty of places, like cosplay events and costume events and nerd events. And like if there's not something going on at one place, you can just drive down the street and there's another one. There's not like that. You've got these people who have, worked all year busting their ass to make these amazing costumes. They're so excited for this. And then you got to deal with the plobs smelling up the place. Sabasacon does not have like steady hygiene rules like other cons do either, and the smell is atrocious in some areas. There was actually an 18+ thing, right? So they're in the vendor hall, which I love going to the vendor hall there because it's not overcrowded. It's not massive like MomoCon, because for example, if you've been to somewhere like MomoCon, Sabasacon's vendor hall is maybe 1/15 of it. But there is like 50, 70 vendors, and there's like a lot of small artists and stuff. There's all kinds of really cool stuff, right? But they had like this little 18+ section. It had like hentai and shit. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like it didn't. That's what it was. I decided to go in there for a friend's upcoming birthday gift. And to be clear, that I am being honest, it was for a friend's birthday gift. I'm not over here like, oh, it's for a friend. No, I'll admit that I look at that shit. Okay, we're adults here. We can admit that we watch. Well, I don't watch. I read smut and stuff. But I legitimately was just looking for a friend's gift. And I'm looking around, and it was taking me a minute because I'm like, I am not familiar with the category that my friend is in. Well, I know what category they like. I'm just not familiar with that category. So I'm like looking through, and I'm trying to like look up stuff, like Google it, like, because I was gonna ask for recommendations. But this is where the plob situation comes. Once we walked into, like, I ended up being in there by myself because my friends were like, "Oh, never mind, it smells too bad." Walking into this little booth. Keep in mind, it's not even a closed room. It's just like panels set up, like giant curtain kind of panel dividers. And there's like an open air at the top, and it still smelled that bad. Walking in, like, I am having to hold my nose. I had to put stuff on, like, Vaseline on my lip and stuff. So I'm trying to just look up, and I'm like Googling, information about these different books so that I can figure out what to get my friend. And there's these guys who are fucking losing their mind that I am in there. It's bad enough that they are hotboxing with the body odor and the shit straight. I mean, it smelled like not just body odor, but it also smelled like shit. Oh my God. It literally, I thought I had jumped into a pile of like nasty, sweaty gym clothes on top of shit diapers. And I'm just trying to fucking stand there and like look. I'm like, I just want to get this gift from my friend. And they're staring at me. They're whispering. You can't really whisper. It's this tiny booth. And I'm hearing them make comments. And they're acting like, oh, my God, somebody with a vagina's in here. Oh, my gosh. They're looking at They even had, the funny thing is he had like a little section that was for women. And I remember hearing one of the guys make a comment about how I was like the first one to go in there because like nobody wanted these men being creepy and making comments. And then when I came out, there was another guy who was making a comment about like he was afraid to go in there while I was in there. What were you afraid of? What do you mean you were afraid to go in there while I was in there? Like, what did you think was going to happen? Like, did you think I was going to, like, come steal your virginity or something? Like, because I'm looking at you, and I'm guessing that's the only thing you've ever had contact with is your hand because of the way you smell. Like, I could smell it. Why? Just why? And they were being so weird. On top of them being weird about me in there was two of them that had their damn hands down their pants, like in their pocket, but you could tell it was like where they're shoving it because the way their pants was, like definitely being inappropriate, trying to touch themselves without getting caught while looking at stuff. Luckily, I got a book that was saran wrapped, because if not, I would have been afraid the pages were going to stick together. This is going to sound wild what I'm about to say, but I honestly prefer dealing with the stink bombs to what I ended up dealing with later. If you've not seen my video on that, the pedophile that approached us, and like no shame, and this wasn't like, oh, he was getting creeped. No, he admitted to being a pedophile. If you don't know, I taught 2 panels at this event. I always do, like whenever I go back. I've done my breakdown video on that. And so I did these 2 panels, and luckily, we didn't actually have anybody that stunk up the panels. I was really happy with that. Even though one of the panels got really packed, I was not expecting that. I was so glad that I had enough goodie bags because I always give out goodie bags or little treats during my panels. And that's one thing I do love about going back home for that small con, even though I'm not a huge fan of small cons because there's not a lot to do, but I'm also not a fan of like only going to massive ones. I like going to in between. I do like going to some massive, but in between mostly, so there's enough stuff to do because by the time you get to a certain, there's a lot of like free time at SavassaCon because there's not a lot going on at all times. But I go to these panels and I'm giving out my goodie bags. I've already done my panel, which if you also haven't seen the other video, there was a parent that I was super proud of. She had talked about she was like a popular kid and a cheerleader and stuff, and now her kids were nerds, and she came to the panel because she wanted to learn. She wanted to learn about stuff so that she could, help her kids and prevent them from getting bullied and all that stuff. She was so sweet and so amazing. I absolutely loved her. I gave her a bunch of resources and stuff. Well, after the panel comes down, we're sitting there. Standing there. I'm standing there, and I'm, like, gathering up my stuff so that the next panelist can come in. And I'm talking to the mom, and my friend who is helping me, and my bestie who's helping me with the panel, she's like, oh, this person wants to talk to you. And this older gentleman comes up and starts asking questions about stuff, and I'm, like, it's normal questions at first. And I'm like, oh, okay, like, he must be talking about this and that. And we start talking about, but then the fucking conversation just pivots. And there was a point where I fucking clocked what was happening because it took me a minute to process it. I was tired and just going about. There was so much happening. So I finally clocked what happened. And, like, it was me and a couple other people. And there was multiple people that clocked it before I did. And we're all kind of looking And I was like, oh God, one of us is going to hit this guy in the fucking face. I'm so glad that he took the hint and left. Because I once I clocked it, I started saying something, and luckily he was smart enough to leave. But it was the boldness of the entire situation. Is he was talking about, regular stuff and mental health and everything, because that's what this particular panel was on, was mental health and fandom. And he then starts talking about these stories that he writes of little boys under the age of 13. And at first I was like, huh? And then he starts going further in depth on it, talking about how he can't be on AO3 because of these pedophiles. He started explaining, and I was like, oh, these are fucking pedophile stories. Like, start talking about, we get shamed and bullied by the world. Fucking Christ, you need to be killed by the world, okay? What the fuck do you mean you get shamed and bullied for liking little boys? Yeah, you should be. You should be fucking buried 10 feet under. This man's old enough to be my grandfather, and you're talking about, like, how it affects your mental health, how the world is, like, mean to you because you like little boys under the age of 13. He gives us a fucking piece of paper, and I've posted this piece of paper. I don't know if the website is still up because a shit ton of you guys were amazing enough to report it. But he gives us this piece of paper. He starts talking about, like, being into Lolita and stuff, and I'm not talking about the fashion. If you don't know, like, Lolita fashion is a thing, which is a lot different than Lolita, which is Lolita, the pedophile shit. Which was a little confusing because that's usually really aimed towards little girls. But anyways, yeah, he hands me the piece of it, it was so fucking wild. Like, I got flabbergasted. I've never had somebody have the fucking audacity to come right up to me. Like, to come right up to me and just start fucking talking about, like, I don't know. The craziest part is, and I know he came in a little bit late to the panel, but, like, there's no way he didn't hear part of this, is I was, during this panel, when I'm talking about mental health and stuff in fandom, I'm talking about, like, child safety, too, and, like, how it affects kids having all these predators and stuff, and how you have to be careful and stuff online. And the fact that this dude had the fucking audacity. You just heard me talk about how, like, kids need to be kept safe online, and you heard me teach this mom all these safety tricks to keep her kids safe while gaming, and then you have the fucking audacity to be like, oh, it affects my mental health when people don't accept the fact that I'm a fucking pedophile. Okay, then jump off a fucking bridge. Do everybody a favor. I'm sorry if that sounds harsh, but Jesus Christ. You're, like, standing there telling this entire group of people, like, it's normal, and, like, we're supposed to pity you, that you want to mess with little under the age of 13. He was so specific, too. He was like, under the age of 13 boys. Like, what the fuck? I am truly grateful that he walked away in that situation, because there was a moment where I was, like, in my head planning out who the fuck, like, because this happened really quickly in this moment. Before me clocking what had happened, I think it was less than a minute between me clocking what was going on to him, like, walking off, because I said something. Because in that moment, I was like, okay, who can I call to fucking watch my kids while I'm getting bailed out of jail for beating the shit out of this man? Like, I'm out of state. What the fuck do I do? Like, my whole brain was just glitching for that, like, 45 to 60 seconds. So this, I realized what was happening and stuff. Because I've just never had someone have the fucking audacity like that. I, like, have to start doing a disclaimer or something whenever I talk about working in mental health at these panels. Because I've never had this issue before, but, like, I'm going to have to just do a disclaimer or something and be like, so, by the way, because I work with real victims and stuff, I'm not going to fucking feel bad for you that you're getting backlash for being a fucking monster. I really don't give a shit. Another plob situation, this is more like a flob. It's funny, we went into this panel, and it's, the funniest part about this is at one point, the people from that panel, actually, I saw them come into the room while I was teaching their panel, and they realized that I was basically teaching against their bullshit, and then they, like, left. But we go into this panel that fucking smells, of course. Oh, God. We go in, and it's stinking, and I'm like, oh, God. I'm looking around. I'm like, oh, yep, this is the room full of the people that only leave their house once a year. And they don't shower ever. They pheromone max in the room, you guys. It's all the Discord mods. And what was crazy is we walk in a little late, and we only stayed for like 5 minutes, and we hear these people talking about, they're like, oh yeah, I can't work and I have to stay on VR all day because I have this and this problem. I've been to like 12 doctors, and every single one of them, they've done x-rays and labs and imaging, and they can't find anything wrong with me, so they won't give me disability, and I feel like it's discrimination. And I'm like, oh god. And, like, don't get me wrong, I've talked about this. There are issues with getting diagnostics and stuff with certain conditions. But it was the way they were like, oh, that's why I stay on VR chat all day, that I'm like, okay, so you're a bullshitter. Because, like, people who are disabled, who are legitimately disabled, are not like, so I'm going to use my disability as an excuse to stay on VR chat all day and be a Discord mod. Like, there are plenty of people who are disabled that find enjoyment in things like video games and whatnot to distract themselves, but like they don't use it as an excuse, right? And the thing that made me finally leave the room, because I was like, I can't sit through this anymore, because I was going to stay around because I was like, oh, this is going to be a great fucking podcast episode. I'm just going to talk about all the fucking shit I overheard in this. But then I hear one of their friends go, well, I shit you not, this woman looked this woman in the face. Like, the other woman looks the woman in the face. And she says, well, I know I don't have any professional education and I'm not, like, medically certified, but I have over 10,000 hours on TikTok viewing, and so I'm diagnosing you with this. And I'm like, I'm looking at my best friend like, what? I don't even know what to say. Like, there's no way. She just said, I've been on TikTok 10,000 hours. So that certifies me to diagnose you. I don't know what level of chronically online that is, but, like, that's some Christian shit. Funny enough, somebody dressed up as Christian, which is another reason why, because keep in mind, this is my home state, where I grew up with Christian's cousin. So I had to, like, at the beginning of both of my panels, I was like, hi, just a reminder that I am not related to the Chandlers. Like, we're another Chandler family, because I've dealt with that since I was a kid. But I was so, my jaw was on the floor. I was speechless when I heard that woman say that. I was like, there's no fucking way. Like I've heard of the whole TikTok doctor BS, but I've never heard somebody, like, in real life say that. I do want to mention some nice things that happen at the con, though, because I don't want everybody to think, like, oh, it's just all horrible. That is not the case. This is just, small bits. There's a lot of things that were great. We actually did the charity quests, so they had quests. We would go out and do these little quests throughout the con, and you got, like, a little ribbon, you got little prizes and stuff. It was really fun. I love doing quests at cons. It's just at larger cons they're impossible to do. Oh my gosh, you're going to be walking. You're going to be getting your, like, 70,000 steps in. I think there was one year we were at MomoCon and we got over 100,000 steps. Like, or it might have been Hallmat, I'm not sure. But the point is, like, they're harder to do it at big cons. So smaller cons are super enjoyable. We love doing them. We had our little quest group. We were going around doing stuff. There was a woman who even cosplayed as, like, an NPC from a game, and she would, like, act like an NPC. There's a point where you have to go on a quest where you have to follow her, and she walks around and she just, like, walks up to people and she, like, waves at them, and she'll be like, hi, traveler, and then just turn and go bye, and then just, like, leave. There's another point where she's, like, walks basically into a trash can, and you have to move the trash can to get her to be able to, like, walk past it. It's great. It's absolutely hilarious. She's amazing. I loved her work. Then we did, like, a panel where we took turns, like, basically going through it was another quest, basically, like a little D&D improv thing where we were just going from person to person, and there was, like, a game set up, and you could select options, and it was basically pretending to be in a video game. It was really fun. There's a lot of amazing stuff that happened at this con. I don't want everybody to think that it's just, like, all horrible. The plobs take up, like, 10%. The pedophile thing was definitely, like, a fucking out of left field shit. That was definitely not something that typically happens. I mean, yes, there's a lot of predators, just like at any event. I've done videos. There's a video of me fucking breaking my Dark Magician Girl wand prop several years ago on a guy's back for, like, groping a little girl. There's predators everywhere, every event, you go to a sports game, you go to a concert, stuff like that. They're everywhere. It's just the whole, like, straight up approaching and trying to make us feel bad for him thing was the wild part. Okay, let's jump right back into the follower submission plobs for Halloween. Beforehand, let me share some good news. We have finally made all of the costumes for the kids at the DV shelter. If you don't know, Halloween costumes are fucking expensive, by the way. It ain't like back in the day when we could, like, throw a sheet together. Spirit Halloween, Lord, they're expensive. Costumes in general, even just Amazon, inflation is wild. So when you have nothing and you're living in a shelter, your least concern is spending, $50, $60, $70 on a costume for your child, but you still want them to have Halloween. So I came up with an idea. We are doing zombies. We have a bunch of clothes. So unfortunately, sometimes when clothes get donated, they will have like little holes or something in them, so they can't be used. They can't be given to people if they're too worn down and they've got holes and stuff. But we keep them so we can find like other stuff. Sometimes they be used as cleaning cloths and stuff. That's a way to cut the budget. Cut cost in the budget, sorry. So I took a bunch of the shirts, and I had some myself too. I had a bunch of clothes, and we cut them up, the ones that were already, not usable, put fake blood all over them, and then I had a sponsor send me a bunch of special effects makeup, and I am going to be making a giant zombie horde. We were already, if you hadn't seen, we're going to be doing zombies ourselves too. That way they don't feel like, we've only got these cheap little costumes. We are also going to be doing zombies because we always do a theme. I know I announced the zombie thing a while back, but some people missed that, and I told people I was going to give an update once we finally got everything done. We have finally got all of these. I've got like 2 trash bags full of zombie clothes. I've got all this makeup that I'm going to be taking up there. I will be taking it up there Halloween. Also setting up for trunk or treats. We're setting up for trunk or treat the day before Halloween, and then on actual Halloween, I will have time because I won't have time on Thursday to go up there before trunk or treat starts and do everybody's makeup. So I've dropped off some of the makeup for a worker that works there to be able to do the makeup for the kids because I'm going to be setting up for trunk or treat. And then on Friday, though, I will be doing the makeup for the kids, and we will be doing a big trick or treat. I'm just really excited that all of this is finally done because it has been it's a really cheap and easy costume to make, but it's also been a hassle getting all of them done. Making sure every kid has something that'll fit them, like going through all these old clothes and stuff to find something for everybody, and then making the costumes out of them. So, if you don't have a costume this year, feel free to join the zombie gang wherever you're at. You can be a zombie with us. I mean, obviously, you can't be here if you don't live here, but, in heart and soul, you can be part of the zombie gang. So let me take a deep breath before we get into this follower submission, though. Everybody take a deep breath because this one's... So I haven't posted this one to TikTok yet because I gotta figure out how the hell I'm gonna censor it. So Spirit Halloween employee, so ironically about this, is the follower who submitted this apparently works at GameStop too. They work at GameStop and then they work at Spirit Halloween seasonally. And they started out the story with explaining that Spirit Halloween traumatizes them more than GameStop, and I'm like, oh damn, I know this is gonna be bad. They actually submitted a few mini horror story times. Let's start with the first one. The first one was their within 2 weeks of working there the first time. This is their 3rd year working at Spirit Halloween, but their very first year, a couple of weeks into working there, they had an incident in the dressing room. So they had a lady, so if you don't know, I've never been to Spirit Halloween. I don't know if this is all locations, but at least some, and the ones I've been and the person they've been to, there's limits on how many costumes you can try on at once, just like a regular dressing room. Go to Ross or JCPenney's or anywhere. I think the bougie stores usually don't care, but the smaller ones, right, typically care about how many outfits you're bringing in there. So this girl brings in 3 costumes, and then her boyfriend comes in, puts her in another stall. Here's the thing with the dressing rooms is, when they're busy, they only have like 1 employee back there, and they said the employee would usually not just be helping with the dressing rooms, but would also be helping with that section of the store. So the boyfriend, apparently at some point when the employee was not paying attention and helping other customers, which is the follower was the one that was working this. Oh God, I feel so bad for them. This girl had picked out 3 like sexy costumes, right? Goes in. The boyfriend had somehow snuck into the other dressing room, because there's only like curtains anyways as it is, snuck into the other dressing room, and they hear some noises. So the employee this follower goes over and helps the other customers, comes back and starts hearing these noises, like whispering. Let me grab like a blanket and I'll be able to show you. So the noises they were hearing was stuff like oh yeah, shh, quiet, oh not like that. Very muffled, but also kind of evident what's happening. They thought they were being stinky, and they were not. So the employee, once again, has only been here like 2 weeks. He's like, I don't know what the fuck I'm supposed to do. Goes over Gets the manager's like, hey, I think there's two people fucking in there. What the hell do I do? This takes a few minutes for him to get the manager too. And also, this is the thing that pissed me off a little bit. He said the manager yelled at him for leaving his like little station. Because they have like little radios, but he didn't have one of those. I know some locations have them, some don't. He said that they did have them, they just didn't have enough. And that half the time they didn't even work. So it wasn't his fault. Like he had to, what was he supposed to do? Just let him continue to fuck in there? Like, why are you yelling at this poor guy? But he goes, this poor guy, he goes, gets the manager. This takes like he said it takes like 5 minutes to get the manager. Gets the manager, gets them back over there, and then they see the couple coming out of the dressing room, right? And the manager's like, oh, well, see, it already took care of itself. It's fine. And the couple rushes out. I guess they realized they had been caught, right? Because the manager's standing there. And the manager, who apparently has no fucking balls, didn't say anything. The manager didn't say anything to them, and they like just they give the costumes back. They're like, oh, none of these fit, and then left. Right? They quickly leave the store. Which once again, why are you in a management position if you can't act like a damn manager and do something? Because so many levels of fucked up, especially because there's a lot of kids shopping in those stores. So they go. The manager's like, oh, well, you need to go make sure there's nothing in that stall. Okay. Why are you now waiting till they leave the store to have your employee go over there and check? Also, why aren't you going and checking? Employee goes over, checks, and there's a fucking used condom on the floor. The costumes were clearly opened, because they tried them on, right? And the employee had to fight to get them to like throw away the costumes, total it out, whatever you call it at your location, where it's damage it out. And the employee had to be like, we really should damage it out. And the guy was like, oh, well, we don't know that there's anything wrong with the costume. There's a fucking used condom on the floor. Finally damaged out the costumes. But it's the fact that the employee had to fight for that. This manager needed to be fired just for not doing their damn job and then getting onto employees for stuff that's not their fault. And then not saying something to this couple. Like, hell no. You don't just be like, oh, let's just let them leave and then you can clean up their dirty used condom. Of course, this poor follower experience at Spirit did not end there. That same year, he was working, he was working, and there was a guy who comes in, you could smell him. He said that they were in a, pretty decently big store, and they could still, he's working the front. I apologize if you hear that in the background. I forgot to put my phone on silent, and that's my text tone. But he's working up front, and you could smell him, the second the guy comes in, and he's got the total neck beard going on, the very dirty graphic tee that clearly has not been washed in forever. It's got the Pokemon on it. He's got crumbs in his beard. He is carrying a monster. They were like, oh god. At first they were concerned this guy was going to spill the monster because they deal with that a lot. People spilling food and drink. Every retail worker knows it's always a nightmare. God, especially if you work somewhere like GameStop. I know some of the GameStops are now laminate flooring, but every GameStop I've worked at has had freaking carpet. But anyways, the guy comes in, he's smelling, they're kind of looking at, they're kind of watching him because he's coming in stinking up the place and they're worried he's going to drop the monster somewhere. So he's told to kind of shadow him, right? He's like, go stock shelves over there, watch, see, that way the mess doesn't get too bad. If you drop something, we can go ahead and clean it up. This is another thing, is there's a lot, for some reason, when people spill stuff in stores, instead of going and getting an associate or something, being like, hey, sorry, can we get this cleaned up? They'll leave the mess there and make it worse. Oh gosh, instead of being like, hey, let's get this cleaned up. So he's on the other aisle, and he said, Lord, he about went blind because once he got close to the guy, you could see the guy's stomach was hanging out of his shirt, which is not to fat shame. But his stomach was hanging out of his shirt, and he had food crumbs in his body hair. He said, Lord, he was gagging in his mouth being around this dude. And the guy goes over to women's sexy costumes, and he just starts running his fingers on the outside of the costumes. The pictures, if you've ever, I feel like everybody's seen a Halloween costume. They'll have a picture of the girl in the costume on the front. And the guy was just caressing the fucking costume packaging over top of these girls and grunting, making weird noises. He said he was waiting for the guy to put his hand in his pocket or something, but he actually didn't, which is kind of shocking. The guy just stood there sipping his monster and just caressing the fucking packaging while stinking up the place. I apologize for the background noise. I just had a salesman knock at the door. No soliciting signs don't mean shit, apparently. But Now I done lost track. So, guy just stands there being creepy, and he couldn't do anything about it because he's technically like not breaking any laws or anything, but he stood there being creepy, doing this caressing and stuff. He said he was in the store for over 20 minutes just doing this, going over like every single women's costume. I'm just, at least it was women's and not children's. So we get a story time from another employee about that. Into that here in a second. My question is, how do you get food crumbs in both your beard and your belly hair? How? How did you get food crumbs in your stomach hair? The bottom of your stomach hair, too, because he said the guy's belly was hanging out of the bottom of his shirt, which means this is like the bottom of his shirt that he's got fucking food crumbs in. How does that? I have so many questions that I also kind of don't want any of them answered. But this guy's follower submissions do not end there. He said he had plenty of Karens and stuff, but the next year, he goes back to work there, which, sir, oh God, I know times are tough. I know we just want, we need money, but come on, man. If I'd had those experiences, I don't think I would have gone back. No offense to this guy. But he goes back the next year. So he was working the last week of that year. He said, like I said, he had plenty of Karens and stuff like that. But this couple really threw him off because he's working that last busy week. And if you know, like, there's a lot of people that come in last minute. It's just like holidays. When you're like, Christmas and stuff like that, you always get a rush, right? And so their line was pretty backed up. So if you've ever been to Spirit Halloween, they have these like little like waist height, or like depending on how tall you are, like these shelves that basically come up to like your chest or waist, that curve around and kind of make the line. And they're filled with all these little knickknacks. I love looking through those, by the way. That is like my little secret. I love getting like tumblers. I recently got a new Night Before Christmas tumbler from them there. But there's these people walking around, and they're in this giant line. They're looped around. So there's probably like 25, 30 customers. Like, it was busy. And that's the ones that are just in line. It's not including the store. There's a lot of chaos going on. He's checking people out, and he noticed this one couple, right? Now, like I said, it comes up to like your breast area, your chest, your waist, right? And he notices one couple. The guy is doing, if you don't know what this looks like, go look him up on TikTok, broke boyfriend hug. And it's where the guy is standing behind the girl, and he always has his hands on his hips. He's basically got his dick up against her ass, like standing there in public. And he noticed that like this couple was being real fucking like, the guy was basically, he kept doing movements, but he couldn't quite see what was going on through the like little barrier. But he started noticing other customers looking uncomfortable too. And they're whispering in each other's ear, and she's holding this like sexy costume. It was like this, it's funny, I found this so fucking ironic, because she said it was like a sexy jail prisoner costume. And I'm like, that's where you're about to be for public indecency. But he's not saying anything. They're super busy. They don't really have the staff for him to just like leave the register and go check it out. But he's hoping that they're just like being weird and being like overly PDA, right? But then this lady steps out of line, and she starts like storming over, and he's thinking it's about to be a Karen moment. And for once, the Karen was the correct one. Karen comes over, and she's like, those two are doing like, starts talking about how they're doing stuff in line. And he's like, well, ma'am, what do you mean? The guy had his hand up her fucking dress. Like, he's not just got his hands wrapped around her with his dick up against her ass. He had his actual fucking hand up her dress. And like the employee looks a little bit closer at the girl's face and realizes, holy fuck, pretty sure he's fingering her in the middle of the fucking line in public. There's kids around. Luckily, because it was so busy, they actually had a cop that was chilling like outside of the store, and they had to go, like, one of the other employees, which he said the employee even gave him a dirty like a remark, was like, what do you need? It was like assistant manager or something, and was like, hey, no, you need to go get like the police, like, now this needs to happen. They were like, oh, but we're busy, but no, you need to go get them. They did end up, he called it into backup. They ended up leaving in cuffs. But it's the fucking audacity for, oh my God, what the fuck is wrong with people? Apparently, he at one point, because he didn't hear the full conversation with the cops, but he heard the guy that was doing this make a comment about, like, oh, you don't like your woman being dressed up sexy for Halloween, and it's like, what the fuck? Plenty of people are like, I've got plenty of sexy costumes. I got a whole closet full of them. But that doesn't make me want to fuck somebody in public, especially in a fucking Halloween store with kids around in the line. Like, how did you fucking think it was okay for you to fucking put your hand up her dress like that? No. That's so nasty. But stay buckled up, because we are not done with this poor man's horror experience working at Spirit Halloween. He has one more story he has submitted, and then we will get into the other people's submissions, because Lord, this man's been through the ringer. Once again, I don't know how he stayed working there. So this one happened earlier this year, towards the end of September, not even, but 3 weeks ago? So he has another plob come in, another stinky, doesn't bathe, doesn't leave the house because he's a Discord moderator in this Discord kid, right? And he comes in and he's looking around, and his manager was like, oh, you got to greet all the customers. I know this guy's stinking up the whole damn store, but, you got to be polite because he's been standing over there for several minutes. Don't worry, he was actually in the men's section this time. So, the follower goes over to the guy, is just being polite. Oh, can I help you find anything? And this plob proceeds to go into this entire story about how he's got a virtual date with his online girlfriend, his long-distance online girlfriend, and he wants to dress up for Halloween for their little Halloween date, which is, normal sweet stuff. If he wasn't smelling up the whole store, it would be a sweet story, right? Starts telling about how they met on Discord and how they met on League of Legends, they love to play League of Legends together, and they met on this Discord for League of Legends fans and all of this stuff, right? Why is it always League of Legends? Why can't I just enjoy the game without the plob part of the fandom? Anyways, he proceeds. This part is kind of funny to me. I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh at somebody else's pain, but this is a little bit funny to me. He said while he was having the conversation with the guy just kept farting. He wasn't saying excuse me or anything either. The dude is legit just sitting there with standing there with the employee, giving his story about him and his girlfriend and how he's looking for a costume, while actively fucking farting repeatedly. The guy's like, oh yeah, me and my Discord getting what the fuck? And the employee is trying to act casual. I don't know if maybe the guy didn't think that the employee noticed, but the employee said it was very clearly loud, and it just kept smelling worse and worse. Do you not realize that they can hear? Why would you say, excuse me, back away, do something? Don't just stand there farting while you're talking to this employee. Well, he ends up helping him pick out this costume, and he finds a costume. He takes him over to their little area to try on stuff. After trying on the costume, the guy comes back out, and he's acting really weird. He's like, oh, never mind, it didn't fit. And he's like, I'm just going to order online. And he rushes out of the store. The guy had left the costume in the little changing thing. So he goes back in there to check on it, right? He's like, okay, well, I guess I got to put this merchandise back. And he is hit, he opens the curtain and is hit with the absolute stank of shit. And the costume is half hanging out of the bag that it comes just shoved in there. The guy goes to pick up the bag and it's shit. He looks in the bag. It's not even covered up. It's just half out, and he looks, and there is shit on this costume. I don't know if this guy just wiped his ass with it, or he took a full-on shit in the bag. He said he did not investigate further. He got the manager. They had to, total it out. We're fucking cancel, or not cancel, sorry. Had to, market his damaged goods and stuff. My thing is, why? Because the guy said that they have a bathroom in their store. Their location actually lets people go to the bathroom in the there's a bathroom in their store. So you're telling me this man stood there, repeatedly farted. It was yeah, let me go try on a costume instead of going to the bathroom. And then shits in the fucking costume, or wiped his ass with it. I don't know. I don't know if he shit, like I said, I don't know if he shit on the costume or he just wiped his ass with it. But Jesus Christ, how you go shart on the costume and then run out? Oh Lord, I really hope that this poor guy has a good rest of a season, because he's working there currently, and I hope no more crazy incidents happen. I mean, I know there's gonna be Karens and stuff. There always is, especially when the sales start and stuff. But I hope this guy's okay. I hope he doesn't choose to go back anymore, because, buddy, I think we need to find you a new seasonal job. Okay, let's get into the next Spirit Halloween, because there's more of them. I'm getting plenty of freaking follower submissions of Spirit Halloween, sadly. So remember how about 15 minutes ago I mentioned the whole creeps with kid costumes? Yeah, this follower submission comes from that. Sorry, is about that. So I had a follower submit about they do have the gross plobs and stuff. They said they've seen plenty of plobs and Karens, but there's one customer that made them almost quit their job because they couldn't do anything about this. Because the manager was like, oh, well, we can't prove, blah, blah, blah. So they had a middle-aged man, they said he was about 45 or so, come in, and first of all, he said he didn't smell bad, but in a stinky way, but he reeked of cologne and aftershave. You know the people, so I love smell goods. I absolutely love, like, I've got so many scents and perfumes and candles and incense and, wax melts and everything. I love smell goods, right? Ironically, my maiden name translates to candle maker. But anyways, yes, if you don't know, Chandler translates to candle maker. Anyways, not the point. The point is, there's a maximum, though. There's a limit. You know the guys who used to spray like half a fucking can of Bax body spray on people and send people into like asthma attacks? He said it was kind of like that, except for in cologne. Like, he swears this guy like bathed in it and you could smell it through the entirety of the store. He said you could smell this guy's cologne like an hour after the guy left too. Well, guy comes in, so they're avoiding this guy at first because they're like, oh god, he smells so bad. Like too much cologne. He goes over to the kids section though. He goes over to the little kids costumes. And he's hanging out there for a while. And he's like a little bit jumpy whenever one of the employees like walks by. He's like, kind of jumps. Like, oh, yeah. What, like, when the guy's like, oh, do you need anything? He's like, no, I'm fine. And he's acting really fishy. So after that, they thought, well, maybe he's stealing or something. And maybe the cologne is a way to distract us because thieves get real creative. So he's like, well, maybe the cologne's a way to distract us from, getting away, to keep him away, right? For stealing. It was much worse. It was much darker than that because then the employees are now, trying to keep an eye on the guy, make sure he doesn't steal. When they notice he gets his hand in his pocket and he is staring at these costumes really intently, like staring at these little tiny kids' costumes. He said it was like the costumes for the like, not the toddlers, but not the big kids, like the, I guess like 5 to 10-year-olds. And he's like staring at like all the little girl costumes and he has his hand in his pocket and they start to notice his hand is in his pocket the entire time he's there and there's movement. So you can tell he is touching himself through his fucking pants. And of course the employees are concerned and they say something to management and management's like, well, he could just be like adjusting himself or something. We can't, he's not doing anything. He's not like pulling it out or anything. So we can't really say anything. So this dude was there for, he said, somewhere between 15 and 20 minutes fucking touching himself in his pants, and the manager refused to do anything. They said, technically we can't prove that he's, actually touching himself. He could just have his hand in his pocket. That could just be like movement. He could be playing with his keys or something, or adjusting himself or whatever. So yeah, the guy fucking jerked it. That's what's happening there. If you know anything about these fucking creeps and sickos, that's what he was doing. He's not adjusting his keys for 15, 20 minutes while staring at costumes of little girls. He didn't buy anything. He ended up leaving afterwards. But I just hate that. I hate that the manager did not do anything about this. Fortunately, this next one is not as angering. It's just gross. But I had another Spirit Halloween employee who had, and it's, oh my god, why is it with the fucking dressing rooms? So this one's not that long. They just had a guy. This was another employee who was working like the dressing room area. He said he had a guy come in and he tried on this is the wild part is the fact that this guy like purchased stuff, right? So he comes in, he goes to try on the costume. He said he could smell the booze on the guy. The guy's clearly drunk in the middle of the day. Guy goes in and changes, tries on the costume. It seems to go fine. But the guy slightly smells of piss afterwards. Not a lot, but just like a little bit. He's like, oh god, it's probably, because he's drunk or whatever. He doesn't see a wet spot on the guy's pants or anything, though. The guy then goes to checkout. Like, he goes over and is purchasing the costume when another customer goes to go in that dressing room and freaks out. The employee comes over. This motherfucker had pissed in the floor. He tried on the costume, proceeded to buy the costume after pissing in the dressing room floor. And they come up and they're like, hey, buddy, like, what happened here? And he denies it. And the guy's like, the employee's like, there was no piss in there before. I could also slightly smell it on you. Like, and then you went in there and now there's a piss puddle in the floor. And the guy like got argumentative. They had to kick the guy from the store and threatened to like trespass him and call the cops because he was like arguing and fighting with the manager. And just screaming at him belligerently. And though it was so fucking obviously him, there was nobody else it could have been. The worst part is he said on his way out, he like, they have like the little wristbands and stuff at the front, and they're like, usually they have like the little pin syringes and stuff. The guy like shoves all of that on the floor, like throwing a tantrum as he goes out. Why is it such a hard concept for people to just go use the actual restroom? There are people who have like real medical disorders that can't and struggle with these issues, but then you have these fucking assholes that just do it because they're fucking lazy and assholes and nasty. something really scary about these stories is I still have at least 8 more that I have not gotten through. I'm hoping to get through them before the end of them. I'm going to be recording them later this week and be posting them on TikTok. There are so many more, and I've got to record all the ones that I just told you guys because I haven't recorded those except for the first one. But I do just want to say, I feel like Spirit Halloween employees deserve free therapy after Halloween, because what in the world? Are you guys okay? Because how is it worse there than it is at GameStop? Before we close everything out, I do want to remind you guys that it is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. We've been raising money for the shelter all month. Which, yes, I do every month. Anyways, because all of my creator fund goes to them. I do my live every month, showing me donating it, and my Amazon wish list's up. But I do want to remind everybody, if you see a video on your FYP related to domestic violence, please stick around and watch it. It's important to raise awareness. You would not believe how many people don't realize they're in a domestic violence, and this includes men too. Men, women, anybody can be a victim, anybody can be an abuser. A lot of people don't realize they're in an abusive relationship until it gets physical, and there's often a lot of red flags, warning signs that get completely ignored. One thing I do want to bring up on the topic of how anybody can be an abuser, also anybody can be a fucking pedophile. You guys have not seen, I actually played the entire video on my page on TikTok, but I'm gonna be doing a breakdown on YouTube at some point because I'm getting really tired of these female predators getting away with this shit. Ironically, I posted a video like 2 weeks ago about female predators, how we needed to stop letting them get away with shit, and then a couple of days ago, the stud pedophile went viral. If you haven't seen, it's a substitute teacher. Because if you don't know, anybody can be a substitute as long as you can pass a criminal background check and you have your GED or high school diploma. Some places only take high school diploma. Depends on what state you're in. But yeah, as long as you have your GED or high school diploma, they'll go pay you to be a substitute. A lot of them don't offer any training. It's a real problem we have here. I've talked about it before. But yeah, they're coming in and hiring anybody. And there is a woman. Sorry, I had somebody come in my house. I mean, somebody I know, obviously. It was my mom. I left some groceries at her house, and she was bringing them over. Anyways, back to the freaking pedophile. So she goes in. She treats it like a fashion show. She's making all these creepy remarks. She's recording students without permission. She's making all these marks like, oh, these kids are going to get me in trouble. Just like a fucking man would. Like, just like you would see a male predator being like, oh, these little girls are going to get me in trouble. You're jailbait, blah, blah, blah. Talking about, damn, shorty and stuff. Like, recording these little fucking girls making these comments. And then what makes it worse is we go to her account, and here's the thing. Adult business is adult business. I obviously have no fucking problem with 18 plus pages because my page is 18 plus because some of the stories I tell. Some of the follower submissions are very graphic. But she's making this very sexualized content with her packer and stuff, constantly in her underwear, showing her packer. If you don't know what a packer is, it's a fake penis. Not to be confused with a strap on. A fake penis is to give the appearance of a dick, but it's not to be used during sex. It's typically used just with trans men, but there's some studs that also use them. Some masks too. I have a packer. Got it like 4 years ago for a cosplay, and now I think I have like 4. Not the point. The point is, she's on there making the sexualized content with like showing off the outline and always in her underwear, and then making jokes about how some of the students recognized her, and a large part of her following, if you go over there, now I think she's deleted her account now. She privated it at one point, but you go on there, and it's all kids. It is like all fucking kids. And once again, she made the comment about how some of the students recognized her, which is disgusting. If you are running an 18 plus page, that's not something you should be bragging about. Anytime, I've had a couple of like people comment and be like, oh, I'm 17 or whatever on one of my plob stories, and I'm like, hey, so this page is for 18 plus. Like, I understand it sounds like a silly retail story, but some of these retail stories get graphic. Please get the fuck away. Like, I'm not trying to be mean, but go. It's so gross that, yes, she was fired. She was fired. She also got fired from her regular day job when people started, like, when she started going viral, and she was like doubling down and shit, trying to defend the behavior. But the fact that nobody like alerted the cops or anything with this behavior, which was illegal, the recording of the kids and everything, but the fact that if this had been a man, the cops would have been right fucking there. It wouldn't have just been fired. She would have been, if it was a man, they would have been fired, and the cops would have been waiting at his house. Heck, might have escorted him off school property. But instead, they're just like, fired, and you can go find another job. But you will. They always do. We have got to start taking these female predators just as seriously as we take male predators. I'm so tired of, like, people just dismissing female pedophiles. I feel like they're not as bad. They're just as bad. A pedophile is a pedophile. A bad person is a bad person. I covered that in that interview that I did. Like, we talked about how bad people are just bad people. It has nothing to do with gender or sexuality or anything like that. Just bad people are bad people. Well, I have to get some paperwork done for the DV shelter. oh gosh, I've got to fill out. There's a fucking leak again. I've got to get some paperwork filled out for that. So I'm going to go ahead and end this just a couple minutes early. I apologize. But I will be back again next Monday. I don't care what it takes. I'm going to make sure I don't miss any more weeks after missing 2 weeks in a row. I appreciate everybody who sent their follower submissions in, everybody who waited while I didn't have anything uploaded. I hope everybody has a safe and happy Halloween. Also, nobody is going around sticking marijuana, giving your kids edibles. I hate that rumor comes up every year with trick or treat. People are like, oh, they're handing out weed edibles. Do you know how expensive weed edibles are? Nobody can afford to just be giving out hundreds of them to kids. I'm sure there's maybe 1 or 2 incidents that accidentally happened one time, but the whole the fear mongering on TV where they're like, yeah, there's companies disguising them as candy and then passing them out to all these hundreds of kids. No, there's nobody who spent, there were thousands of dollars. Nobody spent thousands of dollars to get kids high on weed edibles. Also, they say edibles on them. If you look at the candy, it says THC and stuff. Why you should be checking all of your kids' candy anyways. Like, I don't let my kids sit there and eat it. I also, I quality check everything for them, which also includes taking mommy tax, which means I get a few pieces for myself. But anyways, I'm teaching my kids about economics, okay? I'm teaching them that, they'll go do the work and then I get 10% just like the government. Teaching them about taxes, It's called mommy tax. But everybody have an amazing Halloween. Have an amazing trick-or-treat. Stay safe. Shower, hydrate. I will see you guys next week. And as always, I'm a Kindle with Engine to accessories with their pleasure.